It's time for another Indie Dev Showcase video here on the channel. Every Wednesday night, we play nothing but indie games submitted by developers, and these videos are the recaps of it. And if you'd like to submit a game for a future piece, please get in touch. But our first game is the deceptively addictive Intergalactic Fishing. So, our story is that we live in a universe that has developed teleporting technology that allows people to access planets all across the universe. And we're going to do some fishing. And yes, this is one of those games that you are going to know right away if it, well, no pun intended, hooks you. So there's a giant story about our home planet's lake, or our home planet's waters, are fishless, and any fish that get brought there are dying. And a grand conspiracy between the company that makes the portal technology and resistance fighters and all that, but you don't need to care about that. You're here to do some fishing. So, the gameplay loop itself is about procedurally generated planets, where you're able to go to a planet, the game will generate a space for you, and will also create unique fish. And the fish come in all manner of shape, sizes, and where they tend to locate or where they tend to collect in the lake itself. And your general job is to basically fish the waters, learn as much as you can about the lake, and then sell that information and fish to earn money, which you can then use to upgrade your gear and unlock more things in the game. This includes better boats, better rods, as well as going on missions for the various people. There is an entire campaign surrounding what's going on with the controversy of the major corporations, and you are free to engage in that as much or as little as you want. And that is basically it for Intergalactic Fishing. Again, this is a game that this is not going to be aimed at somebody who wants an 80 to 100 hour experience, but the moment-to-moment gameplay works so well for what it does. Again, for those of you watching this right now, we've talked about this for a little over 2 minutes, and you are either completely on board for this idea, or you will never touch this game with a 10-foot fishing pole. And I found this to be a very relaxing and engaging experience, and it does so much right in terms of that basic feel to it. I do kind of wish that there was more in terms of a long-term growth to it. Again, you're simply getting better rods, better parts. That's not changing what you're doing at the moment-to-moment standpoint. One area where I think the game could improve on a little bit is with designing the various lures, which you build your lure out of these parts, which determine its statistics that affect what fish will be attracted to it. It's the most, I guess, quote-unquote, gamey aspect of Intergalactic Fishing, and it could be, I think, explained a little bit better. But, with that said, this is one of those games that it has such a specific niche to it that you either fall in love with it or never want to play it after you try it one time. But we move on from something very relaxing to a game where we have 7 minutes to live. This is Sunrise 7, and this is a kind of an odd game. It feels like the developer is trying to go for a Dark Souls or roguelike live, die, repeat design, but also trying to do more in terms of persistence and locking the player in. So our story is that we are a shade who we are born 7 minutes before sunrise, and we need to get to essentially each kind of tower or safe haven before the sun completely destroys our body and resets us to the night before. So the first part of this game is literally a 7-minute run to the tower, and you are even going full tilt, as you can see me attempting to do here. You really don't have a lot of time to get there. And as you kill these enemies, you'll get experience, which allows you to upgrade your shade. And these upgrades are permanent, even if you die. Now, if you are able to make it, the game kind of unlocks the next story beat, as we begin this plan to explore the world. And there's definitely hints that there is something greater in Sunrise 7. But there are some major issues in terms of the progression and how it's presented that I feel hurt this game. So, once you make it to the tower, you're able to go on kind of these little mini challenges, and the game hints that they'll give you more power, or you can move forward. And the mini challenge that they first present is a timed escapade as you run through this area here, where all of a sudden it just gets very loud. And it becomes very annoying in terms of trying to keep up with this game, as you're going to have to deal with shots being fired kind of from off screen, and just the kind of slower pace that the game wants you to deal with. And I'm not sure at this point if this is an optional challenge, or if you really do need these things in order to have any chance at surviving. But the moment where Sunrise 7 really just fell flat came after this. When you reach the game's first actual boss fight, and it seems like each tower has this boss you're supposed to deal with. So this enemy, as you can see, is very much a bullet sponge kind of fight. And you're going to have to deal with his random attacks, and this screen is going to get filled in a few seconds with bullets and trying to avoid them. And as you can see, we only have so much health on the left. So here's the kicker about this. If you die at this boss, the game will spawn you right back out the boss's door, and you will be unable to do any more leveling or progression. And this is a very big design trap, and it's also in a strange way a punishment for skilled players, because it seems like the game expects you to lose multiple times in the opening so that you continue to level up and power up your character. But if you are good enough at that to make it through on your first try like I did, now you're going to find that your stats aren't really high enough to be effective against this fight. And that is just a very big problem from a design point of view, and this is where I just basically said, I'm done with this game. So there are elements of good design here, but definitely from a progression, just moment-to-moment standpoint, they don't work. And it's kind of a stark contrast to Intergalactic Fishing that we just covered. And with that, let's move on to Fort Triumph. This is a game that has a really solid core gameplay that kind of gets marred by its overall persistent elements. So the game is inspired by the Heroes of Might and Magic, and that kind of, we're combining a turn-based strategy game with a tactical layer. So we explore the map, as you can see here, finding points of interest, resources that we can use to upgrade our keep, and then going into combat either on story missions or to get additional rewards. And the combat layer is very interesting. This is a turn-based strategy game where the entire environment works with realistic physics, or it can be affected. So you can have a character pull an enemy using a grapple arrow into another enemy to knock them both out, or kick somebody into a tree, knock the tree down, hit the enemy behind the tree, and do damage to them. And it's a very great system for allowing the player to come up with unique strategies, and kind of helps to offset, the numbers advantage that the enemies have. And you really do need to make use of this in order to have any chance at surviving. And as you play, you unlock additional skills that can also be modified or upgraded to have unique effects, such as allowing you to pull enemies further, lower the costs, and so on and so forth. And all this sounds really great until it gets paired with the persistent layer, and then kind of the frustrations begin. The issue is that How the persistent layer works is that you have so many movement that you can make on any given day. Each day that passes will give you more resources, which will provide passive benefits to your troops, as well as unlock additional options back at your home base. All this sounds great until you play enough that the game begins to spawn enemy AI, and the enemies will move around the map, capturing some of the points that you've done, as well as trying to assault your home base. And if they destroy it, or they take it over, you'll become unable to get any additional upgrades or purchase more units until you retake that base. And the only way that I could find in order to defend that is you need to spend additional resources training another group or multiple groups of characters. The characters belong to the various classes: warrior, wizard, archer, barbarian. I think there may be a few other ones as well. And this greatly slows down the game and also makes things even more annoying, because you're constantly having to keep track of where the enemy is going, as opposed to being able to explore this world at your leisure. Something similar to King's Bounty and games like that. And it's a shame because the tactical layer is so engaging and interesting, but having to be forced to kind of play babysitter to your base and dealing with the enemies along those lines does put a damper on it. And at the time of when we played this, it seems like additional factions that the game kind of promotes weren't in. I don't know if they have added that in since we played it, but it's unfortunate that the persistent layer couldn't really capitalize on this kind of gameplay. With that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at maybe one or two more games in this video. And now for a quick shout out to our current Game Wisdom supporters and sponsors. Going forward, all Patreon supporters will get early access to our videos. And if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, linked down below. If you're looking for more wisdom about game design, be sure to check out my latest offering of books, 20 Essential Games to Study, aimed for first-time developers and students looking for some inspiration for their upcoming games, and Game Design Deep Dive Platformers if you're interested in anything regarding 2D and 3D platforming design. They're both available in print, digital, and wherever books are being sold. We now turn to the game Warp Factor, which plays as kind of a breakout style game, where we need to keep our various balls in play in order to destroy all the, looks like almost like Simon Says looking shapes on the field. Get through it all and you win. Lose all your bouncing balls and you lose. All while there's a bunch of synth and lots of effects going on in the background, as you can see. And this game was definitely designed around arcade kind of element, or arcade style progression. It's just simply going through the levels, get your high score, move on to the next. My main problem with Warp Factor is specifically in the controls. As you can see, our paddle moves around the entire field, has a 360-degree range around our play space. The problem is that as you turn your paddle around, how it moves changes based on the orientation. So that when I'm trying, let's say I move it to the north, as you see right here, and I press left, it may go in the opposite direction than what I had in mind. It seems like the controls are based on the position of the paddle as opposed to the position of the camera, where left should always move my paddle left, right should always move it right, and you get the picture. And this becomes annoying when you have to make very specific micro adjustments and when you're trying to move around the field very quickly. And this led to me losing several times while we played it. Also, as you can probably guess, this is not a game designed around long-term play. You're not going to be getting 10 to 15 hours out of this one. So if you're looking for a very light arcade game and don't mind the aesthetics and kind of the distracting backgrounds, then this could be a fun one to pick up. But otherwise, this is not a game for somebody looking for a very fleshed out experience. And with that, let's take a look at one more game for this video. This is Puzzle Pelago. And this is a game that it seems, I think, to be either a mobile port or designed for both mobile and PC. And this is a puzzle game by way of a light city building concept. Our mission is to supply each town with the goods that it needs. But our roads cannot cross. So the idea is that when we go to a resource, we can then drag it out to create essentially another road or another chain to it. And you need to kind of drag out resources to the production building. The production building will then generate it, and you have to then kind of do this kind of leapfrog kind of design to figure out where everything needs to go. And as you play through, the game will expand with additional resources. So you'll have to maybe take stone from a mine to create something else to get it to a town. And I was kind of hoping that this was going to be similar to that game Islanders that we played a few months ago, where the basic puzzle aspects kind of gave way to this long-term score chase or survive as long as you can as we add additional elements and challenges. With Puzzle Pelago here, it is all just built around the puzzles themselves. There's no kind of free play mode or anything along those lines. And it's kind of a shame that there isn't more to this game. Again, it really has kind of like that mobile or very basic puzzle trapping. That there's no connection between the various puzzles. There's no greater sense of, I think, exploration of these various systems. It's, again, you're going to do something and then we're just going to repeat it, but making it a little bit harder each time. And we've unfortunately played better examples of this kind of puzzle structure in the past. If you're looking for something very light on gameplay, something you can kill an afternoon or two to play, definitely give this one a check. But if you're hoping that these elements or these mechanics grow in unique ways or develop more game mechanics or loops around it, then I don't think Puzzle Pelago is going to work for you. But that is going to do it for our spotlight. I would like to thank all developers who submitted games. You'll find links to the respective titles down below. And as always, if you are working on an upcoming indie game you want me to take a look at on a future stream, please get in touch. Check out our Discord and Patreon link down below, and come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. Until next time, take care. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoy things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel link down below where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.